When Emily found the hidden box beneath their bed, her hands trembled. Inside was something that would shatter everything she believed about her husband, Daniel. It wasn't just a secret. It was the kind that could destroy two families, including their own. It was raining that night, the kind of cold, relentless rain that seeps into your bones and makes every sound echo heavier. Emily had just come home from her late nursing shift when she noticed the half-open drawer in Daniel's study. He was asleep upstairs, so she quietly stepped inside, curious. Papers were scattered, and under a stack of old receipts, a small wooden box caught her eye. It was locked, but the tiny gold key hanging beside Daniel's desk fit perfectly. When she lifted the lid, her breath froze. Inside were letters, dozens of them, all addressed to Daniel, but signed by Sophie. The name hit her like a thunderclap. Sophie was Daniel's late sister, or at least that's what he'd told her. But these letters were far too intimate, far too recent. One was dated just 3 weeks ago. Emily's hands shook as she unfolded it. "You promised me you'd tell her the truth before our child arrives." Her pulse raced. Child? Truth? None of it made any sense. She dropped the letter back into the box as lightning flashed through the window, illuminating her reflection. Pale, trembling, and utterly broken, something inside her whispered, "Your life is built on lies." Emily and Daniel had been married for 7 years, living in a quiet suburb outside Manchester. To everyone around them, they were the perfect couple. Successful careers, weekend getaways, and laughter echoing through their white brick house. Emily had always admired how calm Daniel was under pressure, how his soft-spoken nature balanced her fiery spirit. But lately, she'd sensed a distance, late-night calls, unexplained trips, and the faint scent of a woman's perfume on his shirts. When she asked, he smiled, brushed it off, and told her she was imagining things. She wanted to believe him. She needed to. Their marriage had been her safe place after a rough childhood, a life built from hope and hard work. Daniel worked as an architect, spending long hours on projects out of town, though Emily had never once seen a design draft at home. Now, as she replayed every small inconsistency, the locked drawer, the sudden tension when she mentioned family, a sickening realization grew inside her. What if Sophie wasn't dead? What if she had never been who Daniel said she was? The letters hinted at something deeper, something dangerous. Emily's heart ached, torn between confronting him and uncovering the full truth first. She couldn't sleep that night. The letters haunted her, all signed by S, each one written with words of regret and longing. One line repeated over and over, "He can't know what I did." Emily's trembling hands clutched the final letter tighter as she heard Daniel's footsteps outside the door. She shoved everything back into the box and forced a calm smile when he entered. "You're still awake?" he asked, his tone oddly guarded. She mumbled something about insomnia, but his eyes darted briefly toward the dresser, exactly where she'd found the box. That small flicker of panic in his gaze told her everything. Over the next few days, Emily played the role of the loving wife perfectly. She cooked his favorite meals, asked about his projects, and laughed at his jokes, all while watching him carefully. He grew restless, checking his phone constantly, stepping outside for calls that lasted too long. She began following him discreetly after work, her heart pounding as she tailed his silver Audi through winding streets. One night, he parked near an old cottage by the edge of the woods, the same address written in one of Sophie's letters. Emily's world tilted. Inside the dimly lit cottage, she saw Daniel embrace a woman who looked exactly like Sophie's photo, alive, smiling, hidden. Emily's knees went weak. The secret he'd buried had just come back to life. Her breath caught in her throat as she watched from behind a tree. The woman she thought was dead, Sophie, leaned into Daniel, whispering something that made him smile. That same smile he used to give Emily when he said, "You're the only one I'll ever love." Her stomach twisted. Every laugh, every late meeting, every distant look suddenly made perfect, horrible sense. She pulled out her phone and began recording. Her hands shook violently, but she knew this was her proof, her weapon. The next day, Emily pretended nothing was wrong. She kissed Daniel goodbye, waved from the doorway, and then drove to her friend Olivia's house. "You're pale as a ghost," Olivia said, her voice filled with concern. Emily didn't speak. She just showed her the video. Olivia's jaw dropped. "You need to confront him or destroy him." Emily's lips curved into a cold, determined smile. Both. Her plan began to take shape. She started by printing the photos of Sophie's supposed funeral, the marriage certificate that proved she and Daniel were married, and screenshots of the video she'd taken at the cottage. Then she created an anonymous email address. From it, she sent the evidence to Daniel's company, where he was running for a highly competitive promotion. By evening, the news had spread through the office like wildfire. Whispers, gasps, and judgmental eyes followed him everywhere. When Daniel came home that night, his face was pale, his phone buzzing non-stop with calls he wouldn't answer. "Who did this?" he shouted, veins bulging in his neck. Emily just tilted her head, her eyes cold as ice. "Maybe the truth finally found you." She turned away, her plan only half finished. The real revenge, that was yet to begin. The morning I set the final trap, the sky was flat and grey, perfect for what I planned. I uploaded all the files to a secure cloud, then sent a single encrypted link to the local business forum, where Daniel A.'s promotion was being discussed. I also sent copies to a journalist I'd quietly befriended, and to the regulatory board that oversaw his firm. By mid-afternoon, the boardroom at his company was filled with murmurs. Phones buzzed and faces drained as the montage ID compiled began to play on the office screens. It wasn't just the video of him with Sophie. It was the entire paper trail, forged death certificates, the bank transfers redirecting estate funds, and emails that showed he de-invented Sophie's death to access insurance payouts and hide illicit clients. The board chair slammed the gavel in stunned silence. Daniel tried to speak, to plead ignorance, but the evidence was surgical. It was undeniable. As security closed in, the journalist stepped forward, microphone poised, and asked the question I'd rehearsed 1,000 times in my head. "How long did you expect to get away with it?" His eyes found mine across the room. For a second, he looked human, real panic replacing his usual arrogance. Officers led him away as cameras flashed. It wasn't the theatrical humiliation I once craved. It was a precise, legal dismantling of everything he'd built on lies. Watching him escorted out, I felt the tight knot that had been in my chest for weeks finally begin to loosen. The secret he'd buried hadn't just ruined lives. It had exposed a man who thought himself untouchable. In the quiet days that followed, my life slowly began to mend. Daniel's disappearance from my world and the company left a strange void, but one that felt like freedom. Colleagues who had doubted me reached out, apologizing for their silence, and the journalist's article went viral, clearing my name while exposing the full depth of Daniel's deceit. I moved through my apartment, once a place of constant suspicion, now filled with light and a tentative peace. The letters and hidden boxes were locked away, remnants of a life that almost broke me, but hadn't. I discovered a strength I hadn't known I possessed, the calm clarity to rebuild my career, reconnect with friends, and trust myself again. I realized that the most brutal betrayals often carry the seeds of empowerment. The more someone tries to destroy you, the sharper your resilience becomes. My life, though scarred by treachery, was mine to reclaim, no longer controlled by secrets or lies. At night, I would sometimes sit by the window, staring at the skyline, reflecting on the events that had nearly ruined me. I didn't feel victory in anger, but in reclaiming control over my own life. Daniel's punishment was complete, his lies undone, and I had emerged stronger, wiser, and guarded. Which moment in my journey shocked you the most, or which twist caught you by surprise? Comment below with your thoughts and suggestions. I want to know how this story of betrayal and revenge resonated with you. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.